And last on the list, but by no means least, I have an educator, an artist, a very dear friend, and a tireless advocate for arts and culture in Bucks County. That would be Bruce Katsiff, Executive Director and CEO of the James A. Michener Museum.
I don't think that I can equal the rousing call-out that occurred. You know, I want to ask the question, does everyone understand why we're here and what it is we're doing and how much the times have changed in the last 20 years? The whole notion of arts advocacy is a relatively new concept that's really been developing over the course of the last 10 years. And I have to tip my hat to the Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance, which has done really incredible work to raise our consciousness and to develop much of the information that you are now beginning to hear. When people are now talking to you about the economic impact of arts and culture across our region, when they give you statistics about the number of jobs that are created, when they talk to you about the number of visitors, it's important for you to understand that that is research that really came out of the Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance, work that they've been doing over the course of the last 20 years, because we have learned that if you want to get your message across to the politicians, you can't talk about poetry and how it makes us feel good and how we're building a civil society. You have to talk about economic impact, about jobs, about arts and culture being an economic engine. And without the data that we're getting from the Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance and from organizations that are happening locally, we wouldn't be able to give that message. I was talking before, and I'm going to share that story. I want to talk just for a moment about one of the remarkable success stories of GPCA and of their former director, Peggy Amsterdam, who was really a visionary leader who did incredible work. You may all recall last year when here in the Commonwealth there was significant debate about the budget. Nothing new in America, debate about a budget. No, we have no problems in that area. But you may recall that the governor, the then governor, was debating with the legislature about how they were going to resolve the budget here in the Commonwealth. And we had a governor, Ed Rendell, who frankly was a very strong arts supporter. He did a lot for the arts. But at some point, a deal was made near the end of the budget negotiations that would have levied a tax on museum visitors and arts and cultural and theater visitors, and was not going to tax visitors to the movies. It was going to have a profound negative impact on attendance across the Commonwealth, and it was a direction that many of us saw as very troubling. I will confess that I, like others, called Peggy and said, you know, Peggy, this is a tough pill to swallow, but the deals have been cooked. There's no way we're going to get the governor and the legislator to change this position. Peggy said, we're going to fight it. I don't care. We're going to fight it. And through her efforts and the Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance, an effort was raised, and what do you know, they successfully got the state legislature to turn around, to change the position, and to not impose the tax on museum attendance and theater attendance across the Commonwealth. So if you will, I cite that because it's an important example of how effective we really can be when we come together and let our voices be heard and use our influence to convince everyone that arts and culture are important. And isn't it interesting how every political leader who has left us the message has left us the message that they get it. They really do. They're beginning to understand that arts and culture really is an important part of the health of a community. More money goes to support military bands than those two institutions. And right now, we are all facing a terrible challenge of this attack on National Public Radio. It's important that we get the message to our political leaders that we think the modest 10% funding that National Public Radio gets is not the place to balance the budget. First of all, it won't do that. And secondly, we don't want to see the budget balanced on the backs of cultural institutions. I want to point out that we in America do not have cultural institutions that are mainly dependent upon public dollars. We're not asking the government to completely fund what we do. We're simply asking for a modest contribution. Most of the cultural institutions receive less than 20%, in some cases 10%, in some cases 5%, very modest support from government. That's what we're asking for. We're not asking for a free ticket. We're asking for continued support for a segment of American society that is very important. I don't want to point any names, but you know, there's a lot of government money in support of a lot of things across America. There's a lot of farm subsidy money. There's a lot of money out there. There are even some large corporations. General Electric, what was their tax bill last year? What did the New York Times tell us? Yeah, if you saw that piece, General Electric paid 0 in taxes last year, 0 in taxes. So what I say to you is, we need to continue to work together. We need to realize that what we are doing is really having an impact. We're really changing the attitude of government towards arts and culture because we've always had the community behind us. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have the community behind us. Our institutions wouldn't exist without the philanthropy, without the generosity, without the support of public-spirited citizens who have always kept the arts alive and will continue to keep them alive. What we want is we want to make sure that government understands that there's a place for government in support of the arts. If we can spend hundreds of millions of dollars in this Commonwealth to build stadiums, then we can also spend some money to build museums, to build cultural institutions, to build theaters. So I thank you so much, and I want you all to recognize, no matter how big our crowd is right now, collectively, we're an important voice, we care about the arts, we have the passion, and we're going to make sure that our elected officials understand our importance in the community. Thank you so much.